This is you. You're a 32-year-old night auditor at the Grandview Hotel in downtown Chicago. You work the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 6 nights a week. You make $17 an hour. You took this job because the pay is slightly better than day shift, and you thought nights would be quiet. You were wrong. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, and you're behind the front desk watching the lobby. The hotel is nice but not luxury. Business travelers, tourists, people having affairs, people hiding from something. You've learned not to ask questions. You check people in, you check people out, you smile, you mind your business. A man walks through the lobby carrying 2 heavy duffel bags. Expensive suit, wedding ring, sweat on his forehead even though it's cold outside. He doesn't look at you. He takes the elevator to the 7th floor. You've seen him before. Room 712. He comes every Wednesday night, stays until Thursday morning, always pays cash, always alone. The duffel bags are new. You go back to your paperwork. 10 minutes later, a woman in a designer coat walks through the lobby. No luggage. She also takes the elevator to the 7th floor. You don't think about it. You're paid to not think about it. At 12:30 a.m., you do your rounds. You walk the hallways checking exit doors, making sure everything is secure. 7th floor. You hear shouting from room 712, a man's voice, a woman screaming, then silence. You stand in the hallway frozen. Hotel policy says don't get involved in domestic disputes, call security if it escalates. You radio security. No answer. He's probably asleep in his office. You knock on the door. Hotel staff, is everything all right? Silence. Then the door opens slightly. The man from earlier. His face is calm but his hands are shaking. Everything's fine. My wife and I had a disagreement. We're good now. You see past him into the room. The woman is sitting on the bed. She's not crying. She's not moving. She's just staring at the wall. Something is wrong with her eyes. They're empty. You nod and walk away, because that's what you're supposed to do. You go back to the lobby, and you don't sleep for the rest of your shift. Thursday night, you're back at the desk, you tell yourself you imagined it. Wednesday night, guy comes back, same duffel bags, same room, different woman. This time she's younger, maybe early 20s. She looks scared. You watch them take the elevator. You try to focus on your work, but you can't. At 1 a.m., you hear it again, shouting, then silence. You do your rounds. You knock on 712. The man answers. This time he's annoyed. I told you we're fine, stop bothering us. You see the young woman on the bed. She's not moving either. Same empty stare. You leave. Friday night. He doesn't come. You feel relieved. Maybe it's over, maybe you were overthinking. Then, at 2 a.m., a different man checks in. Also well dressed. Also paying cash. Also requests the 7th floor. Room 718. You give him the key. 1 hour later you hear it. The shouting. The screaming. The silence. You're not imagining this. Something is happening on the 7th floor every single week, and you're the only one who notices, because you're the only one here at night. You check the records. Room 712 has been booked every Wednesday night for the past 6 months. Different names. Always cash. Always the same guest in person. Room 718, Thursdays and Fridays. Room 703, Saturdays. A pattern. You do something you're not supposed to do. You pull the security footage. The hotel has cameras in the hallways but not in the rooms. You watch the Wednesday footage from 3 weeks ago. The man enters room 712 with a woman. 2 hours later he leaves alone. The woman never comes out. You check Thursday. She's still in the room. Friday. Still there. Saturday morning housekeeping goes in. The room is empty. No woman. No trace of her. You feel your blood run cold. You keep watching. It's the same pattern every week. Women go in. They don't come out. But when housekeeping enters the next day, the rooms are spotless. Empty. Like no one was ever there. You try calling the police. You tell them you think something is happening at your hotel. They ask if you've seen a crime. You say no, just suspicious activity. They tell you to call back if you see an actual crime. You hang up. No one is going to help you, because technically, you haven't seen anything illegal. Just people checking into rooms and leaving. But you know something is very wrong. Saturday night. You make a decision. You're going to find out what's happening. At 3 a.m., you take the master keycard and go to the 7th floor. Room 712 is booked tonight. You hear nothing inside. You unlock the door. The room is empty. Pristine. Bed made. No luggage, no personal items. But there's a smell. Cleaning chemicals. Strong. Too strong. You check the bathroom. Spotless. You check the closet. Empty. You're about to leave when you notice something. The carpet near the window is slightly damp. You kneel down. It's not water, it's thicker. You touch it. Your fingers come back red. Someone cleaned this room very recently, very thoroughly, but they missed a spot. You hear a noise behind you. You turn around. It's the man, Wednesday night guy. He's standing in the doorway holding one of his duffel bags. He looks at you, then at your red fingers, then back at you. You should have minded your business, he says quietly. You run. You sprint past him into the hallway toward the stairwell. He doesn't chase you, he just watches. You run down 7 flights of stairs and burst into the lobby. You're shaking. You grab the phone to call 911. Then you see him. He's already in the lobby. He came down the elevator. He's faster than you. He walks up to the desk calmly. You seem upset. Bad night? You back away from him. I'm calling the police. He smiles. And tell them what? That you broke into a guest's room and found a wet carpet. That's a fireable offense, by the way. Breaking and entering. Invasion of privacy. You realize he's right. You have no proof, no body, no evidence, just a damp spot and suspicion. He leans closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to forget what you saw. You're going to go back to checking people in and checking people out, and if you keep your mouth shut, you get to keep breathing. Understand? You nod because you don't know what else to do. He smiles, picks up his duffel bag and walks out of the hotel. You stand there for 20 minutes, unable to move. Then, you do something you've never done before. You open the computer and look at the hotel's financial records, something you're definitely not supposed to access. Room 712, booked every Wednesday for 6 months. But the payments don't go through normal channels. They're coded as, quote, corporate accounts. You dig deeper. The corporate account belongs to a shell company. You Google the shell company. It's registered to a law firm downtown. You Google the law firm. They specialize in, quote, quote, private wealth management and asset protection. Then you see something that makes your stomach drop. The hotel manager's name is listed as a partner in the shell company. Your boss, he's in on it. Whatever is happening in those rooms, hotel management knows. They're profiting from it. You quit. The next day, you tell them it's a family emergency. They don't ask questions. You're just another minimum wage worker who couldn't handle the night shift. Easy to replace. They hire someone new within 48 hours. You try to move on. You get a new job at a different hotel across town. Day shift this time. Better hours, worse pay. You tell yourself you made the right choice. You're alive. That is what matters. But you can't sleep. Every night you lie awake thinking about those women, the empty stairs, the damp carpet, the duffel bags. You start researching missing persons reports in Chicago. You find dozens from the past year. Young women. Last seen in downtown areas. No bodies ever found. No leads. Cases gone cold. You recognize 3 of them from the security footage. The women who went into room 712 and never came out. You know what's happening. You just can't prove it. The hotel is a disposal site. Wealthy men pay for something horrific, and the hotel helps cover it up. Clean the rooms. Erase the evidence. Everyone profits. Everyone stays quiet. You try to go to the police again. This time with the missing persons reports, the corporate account information, the pattern. They listen politely. Then they tell you that without physical evidence or witness testimony, they can't get a warrant. Corporate accounts aren't illegal. People check into hotels all the time. Missing persons go missing for all sorts of reasons. If you get actual evidence, come back, they say. You realize you're on your own. No one is going to help you because everyone has plausible deniability. The hotel guests are wealthy and connected. The hotel management is complicit. The police won't act without proof you can't safely get. And you're just a former night auditor with a theory and no evidence. But then something happens. A woman contacts you. She found your number through a friend of a friend who worked at the Grandview. She says her sister went missing 3 months ago. Last seen getting into an Uber heading downtown. The Uber dropped her off at the Grandview Hotel. She never came home. The police gave up on the case. Please, she begs you, tell me what you know. You meet her at a coffee shop. You tell her everything. The pattern, the rooms, the men, the duffel bags. She starts crying. Then she stops crying and her face goes cold. I want them to pay, she says. Help me make them pay. You know this is the moment. You can walk away right now, forget everything, live your life, stay safe. Or you can do something incredibly dangerous and possibly stupid. You look at her, you think about those women, the empty stares, you make your choice. You and the sister devise a plan. She's going to go to the hotel. She's going to pose as one of them, a woman looking for a private arrangement. You know the type they target. Young, vulnerable, needs money. She'll wear a wire. You'll be outside in a car with recording equipment. If anything happens, you'll have proof. Real proof. Then you go to the police. Then they can't ignore it. It takes 3 weeks to set up. You buy the equipment with what little savings you have. You coach her on what to say. She's terrified but determined. My sister died in that hotel, she says. I'm not letting them get away with it. The night comes. Wednesday. She walks into the Grandview lobby at 11:30 p.m. You watch from across the street in your car. She checks in. You see Wednesday night guy enter the lobby 10 minutes later. He sees her. They talk. He offers her a drink at the bar. She accepts. Your heart is pounding. You're recording everything. They go upstairs together. Room 712. You lose visual but you have audio. You hear them talking. He's charming. Offers her money. A lot of money. Just relax, he says. Everything will be fine. Then you hear her voice change. She's slurring. He drugged her drink. What did you? She starts to say. Then silence. You're about to run inside when you hear something else. The sound of a door opening. Another voice. A man. Is she ready? Wednesday night guy responds. Yeah, she's out. Get the plastic. Your blood turns to ice. You have it. On tape. Proof. You call 911. I have evidence of a murder in progress at the Grandview Hotel. Room 712. I have audio recording, send everyone. Police arrive within 6 minutes. They storm the hotel. You're shaking in your car listening to everything. You hear shouting, cops yelling hands up. You hear the sister's voice on the wire. She's awake, groggy but alive. They got there in time. Wednesday night guy and his accomplice are arrested. The hotel manager is arrested. Over the next week, they find evidence in the hotel basement. A storage room that was supposed to be unused. It wasn't unused. They find traces, DNA, belongings, the remains of 3 women. The case makes national news. Luxury hotel horror. Serial killers used Chicago hotel as dumping ground. The Grandview shuts down permanently. More arrests are made. Wealthy men, politicians, businessmen. The ring was bigger than you thought. At least 8 women were killed over the course of 2 years. The sister was one of them. You testify at the trial. The defense tries to discredit you. A disgruntled former employee with an overactive imagination. But the evidence speaks for itself. The audio, the DNA, the bodies, all of them are convicted. Life sentences, no parole. The sister hugs you outside the courthouse. You saved my life, she says. And you got justice for my sister. You nod, but you don't feel like a hero. You feel exhausted. You spent 9 months working a night shift at a hotel where women were being murdered, and you were the only one who noticed. And for a long time, no one believed you. You think about that sometimes. How many other hotel night auditors are out there right now, seeing things they're not supposed to see, being told to mind their business? How many other people know something is wrong but stay quiet, because speaking up is dangerous, and no one will listen anyway? You got a new job, different industry. You'll never work in a hotel again. But sometimes at night, you lie awake and wonder. You wonder if you saw too much, or if you saw just enough. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss any of our videos.